It is rare that there is a mid-season change to rule or regulation in the AFL, but that is precisely what's happening in the lead up to round 10. To tell us about it, the umpire's boss, Wayne Campbell, is in. Wayne, welcome.
Jared, thanks for having me.
Why this interventionist step during a season?
It's not a rule change, Jared, I suppose, but it is an interpretation change, so it is a change to the way we're going to umpire the rule. There's been a groundswell, I suppose. There was a rule introduced about driving the head and prior opportunity 18 months ago. It's probably fair to say it was probably a loose interpretation. It's where a player has his head over the ball, picks the ball up, and in order for it to be a drive under the way we interpret it, he probably needed to take 2 or 3 steps forward towards the tackler. We paid 1 last year, so it probably shows that it's not as prevalent as what we thought it might be. We think the onus has been put all onto the tackler to protect the player's head, and the player's head sacrosanct and all that sort of stuff. But we just think that maybe players with the ball are taking advantage of that, and we just want to shift the onus back a little bit towards the player with the ball as well. But the tackle still can't be reckless or indiscriminate. OK, don't feel like you're on trial, but you're on trial here with the 2 coaches.
I
feel like I'm walking the plank.
So 3 very clear examples of this, of what we would regard as driving, will now result in holding the ball.
So just be clear that it's not holding the ball straight away. So it's not a free kick against straight away. It will be regarded as their prior opportunity. Therefore, they still have an opportunity to kick or handball. So it's not a free kick straight against, it's their prior opportunity.
OK, here it comes then. This will be Geary, Rich and Smith for the first 3, which driving the head forward into the tackle.
So as long as the tackle is stationary or near stationary. Now, you could argue with that Harvey didn't hit him in the head anyway, but we ruled that that was a free kick at the time. You see Clay Smith here drives his head into Brodie Smith.
So in all 3 of those examples, that will be holding the ball because the player didn't legally dispose of the footy?
I think under those circumstances, yes. Well, it's certainly our thinking that probably they're thinking they will get a free kick. We're hoping to change that behaviour because it's a safety issue. That's why it's been brought in. It's not just a normal sort of run-of-the-mill interpretation change. We think if we don't do something about it, given the groundswell that there has been around this, that's not the right thing to do. But all of those players still have the opportunity to handball the ball.
Mate, I'm assuming the umpiring department didn't make this rule change or the interpretation change. Does this come from laws of the game?
Oh, it's come from... He would have been on the Gold Coast a couple of years ago, so I think John Longmire was really strong about it, that his view, and his view currently still is that it should be a free kick directly against the person who drives their head. So don't worry about prior opportunity, just pay a free kick against. I think it's fair to say that Alistair Clarkson views that as well. So there's been a groundswell, I reckon, from the coaches over the initial parts of the season. We've put that to the laws of the game over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and they were unanimous as well for these types of for actions.
I reckon those 3 are clear, but they're not all going to be clear. There's a rough chance this will become the Lindsay Thomas rule in shorthand. Take us through whether Lindsay Thomas is going to get a free kick for high contact anymore in this circumstance.
So this is certainly different to the first 3. OK, so the first 3 were driving. This was saying he's actually leading with the head. So we had 2 ways of attacking this. I think generally, again, coaches, fans and the public don't want that to be a free kick, so it could either be a duck. So we already have a ducking rule where if you're high and you go low, then it's ruled that the player's ducked and it's just play on. Again, as long as the tackle's not too reckless.
So Melksham's tackle not reckless in that circumstance?
We think in that instance he goes low enough. Like does his arm swing too hard? I mean, that could be argued, but if you look at his legs, he's as low as he can be. What we're looking for with the tackle is that they've planted their feet. So that means they're not moving forward into the play.
So you're saying that won't be a free kick?
That won't be a free kick to Thomas?
Won't be.
No.
But if the ball just fell out, then it's a free kick to Melksham because he's had prior opportunity. But if he handballed it out, well, then it'd be play on.
Yeah, so it's not instantly a free kick against Thomas. In that instance, Goddard actually rips the ball out of Thomas's hands, you'll see there. So that would just be play on.
Well, what is the onus on the tackler? You touched on that before, because the temptation may be that the tackler becomes more reckless, knowing that a guy's got his head down over the ball and he's driving. So how do you differentiate
Certainly
between...
what we don't want is for there to be any difference to the change of the onus on the tackler. So the tackler still needs to be stationary or near stationary. What this is putting just a little bit more degree of emphasis on the play with the ball. So this is not
if Robbo drives his head into me and I go like that,
free kick to Robbo. Yeah, absolutely.
Even though, so that...
When I'm down?
Even though he's down like that, and I've gone, he's running into me.
Get everybody on
And I've gone sort of with a...
Yeah, so we think so in the Melcham example, let's say with the Melcham examples, we think his tackle was reasonable. If his arm swings and hits him in the head, or he comes and he charges at him, that'll still be a free kick. So the onus is still on the tackler.
But even though the drop is actually... The drop is the thing that's created the head-high contact, hasn't it? So it hasn't been the aggressive... Like, if I go like that to Robbo and he's standing up, then that hits him here. If it's down and he hits him there. So he's actually created the illegal tackle.
What you're saying is absolutely correct, but what we can't have with this interpretational change is for there to be open season on the play with the ball. That's what we don't want. So we're saying that the onus is exactly the same as what it has been the previous 9 rounds on the tackler.
I'm going to show the crouch one. I think this is the most problematic, is this will be regarded as driving your head into the player, despite the fact that it's instantaneous that he picks up the ball, to lower his head to pick up the ball and he's in the tackle.
So that's holding the ball against Main.
So right now, going forward, that would be holding the ball because he hasn't handballed the ball.
And on the night, that was no decision.
I think we called we called a ball up, and I think that's been reviewed as that because he was stationary.
So what are we expecting Crouch to do in that situation there? Because he's simultaneously been tackled.
So Main was the one that went to the ball.
Sorry, Main. Sorry, the other way around. Yeah.
So I think, as long as I was sort of taught, was to step over the ball and turn his body. I think we've incentivised someone to go in head first.
Well, there's no doubt about that, mate. No 7, there was about the head-high protection of the ball carrier, and I reckon we're always going to have players lead with their head to get free kicks beyond that. I think we've seen it happen. In the end, is this easier or harder for you guys to do your job? Because that's got to be paramount.
Harder. Yeah, It's easier to be consistent when you just pay the high contact. Yep. It is easier. But again, there's been this groundswell to change.
Yep.
That's it. I have to call time there. The Shruggers are fine. Thanks. Let the debate begin.